I still remember the exact moment my 7-year-old daughter burst into tears at what was supposed to be our family engagement dinner. She stood frozen beside the table, clutching her little stuffed rabbit, while my fiancé's mother smiled and said loudly, "Sweetheart, this dinner is for our kids. You're not really part of that." The entire room went silent. And what happened after that destroyed a family, exposed a secret nobody saw coming, and changed my life forever. My name is Rachel, and 3 years ago, I thought I had finally found happiness. After a painful divorce, I spent years raising my daughter, Emma, alone. Her father had disappeared when she was a baby, leaving me to handle everything by myself. It wasn't easy, but Emma became my whole world. Then I met Jason. Jason was kind, funny, successful, and most importantly, he adored Emma. At least that's what I believed. He had a son named Noah from a previous marriage. Noah was 8, only a year older than Emma. The kids got along surprisingly well. For 2 years, everything seemed perfect. When Jason proposed, Emma jumped into his arms and yelled, "Does this mean we're officially a family now?" Jason smiled. "Of course we are." I cried that night because for the first time in years, I felt like my daughter would finally have the stable family she deserved. I had no idea how wrong I was. The problem started with Jason's mother, Linda. From the beginning, she treated Noah like royalty. Emma, on the other hand, was practically invisible. At first, I tried to ignore it. Maybe she just needed time. Maybe she wasn't used to me. Maybe she wasn't comfortable around Emma yet. But then little things started happening. At Christmas, Noah received expensive gifts while Emma got a coloring book and dollar store crayons. At family gatherings, Linda would post photos online captioned, "My wonderful grandson." Emma was never in the pictures. One afternoon Emma asked me something that broke my heart. "Mommy, why doesn't Grandma Linda like me?" I felt sick. "She does like you, sweetheart." Emma looked down. "No, she doesn't." I had no answer. When I brought it up to Jason, he brushed it off. "Mom just has trouble showing affection." "Only to Emma?" I asked. "You're overthinking it." That should have been my warning sign. But I loved him. And love has a way of making obvious red flags look invisible. A month before our wedding, Linda insisted on hosting a special family dinner. She called it a celebration of our future together. I wanted things to improve, so I agreed. Big mistake. That night, almost 20 relatives gathered around a huge dining table. Everyone was laughing. Everyone seemed happy. Then Emma walked over and asked if she could sit beside Noah. Before I could answer, Linda smiled and said the words I'll never forget. "Oh honey, this dinner is for our kids." Emma looked confused. "I am one of the kids." Linda laughed. "No, sweetheart. Noah is family. You're Rachel's daughter." The room froze. I felt like all the air had been sucked out of my lungs. Emma's face turned red. Then tears filled her eyes. "But Jason said we're going to be a family." Linda shrugged. "Some people are family. Some people aren't." Emma ran from the room sobbing. I immediately stood up. "What is wrong with you?" Linda rolled her eyes. "I simply told the truth." I turned to Jason. I expected him to defend Emma. Instead, he stared at his plate. Silent. That silence hurt more than Linda's words. I grabbed Emma and left. Jason followed us outside. "Rachel, don't overreact." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Overreact? She humiliated my daughter in front of everyone. Mom didn't mean it like that. I stared at him. And for the first time, I saw someone completely different from the man I thought I loved. The next few weeks were miserable. Emma became withdrawn. She stopped talking about the wedding. She stopped calling Jason. She stopped smiling. One night I overheard her crying in her room. Mom's gonna leave me for her new family. I sat on the floor and cried after she fell asleep. That was the moment I started questioning everything. Maybe Linda wasn't the real problem. Maybe Jason was. Then something happened that changed everything. 2 weeks before the wedding, I received a message from someone I didn't know. It was Jason's ex-wife. At first I thought it was spam. Then I opened it. The message contained screenshots. Dozens of them. Private conversations between Jason and his mother. As I read them, my hands started shaking. Linda had repeatedly referred to Emma as the extra baggage. But Jason's responses were even worse. I know. We'll deal with it later. Once we're married, Rachel will understand. My stomach dropped. Then I saw another message. The one that shattered me. Linda wrote. Make sure Noah gets everything. Don't let that little girl touch the inheritance. Jason replied. Don't worry. Rachel doesn't know the trust is only for Noah. I reread the message 5 times. Inheritance? Trust? What trust? The more screenshots I read, the more horrifying everything became. Jason's wealthy grandfather had left a multi-million-dollar family trust. The money would eventually go to future grandchildren. Before proposing to me, Jason had secretly signed documents ensuring Emma would never receive anything, even if he legally adopted her. He had planned it from the beginning. To him, Emma would never be family. The entire relationship suddenly made sense. The silence. The excuses. The constant defense of Linda. It wasn't ignorance. It was agreement. I was furious. But I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to expose them. The wedding was scheduled for the following Saturday. Nearly 200 guests had already RSVP'd. I spent days preparing. Not for the ceremony. For the truth. On the wedding day, everything looked perfect. White flowers. Beautiful decorations. Expensive venue. Jason stood at the altar smiling confidently. Linda sat proudly in the front row. Neither had any idea what was coming. The ceremony began. The officiant asked if anyone wished to say a few words before the vows. I stood. I do. Jason smiled nervously. I walked toward the microphone. Then I connected my phone to the giant reception screen behind us. The first screenshot appeared. The room went silent. Jason's smile vanished. The second screenshot appeared. Then the third. Then the fourth. Gasps echoed throughout the venue. People began whispering. Linda's face turned ghost white. Jason rushed forward. Rachel, stop. I ignored him. I displayed every message. Every insult. Every plan. Every secret. Every cruel comment about Emma. Then I looked directly at the crowd. This is the family I was about to marry into. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then something unexpected happened. An elderly man stood up from the front row. It was Jason's grandfather's brother, Richard. A man I had only met twice. He looked furious. What trust are these messages talking about? Jason looked terrified. Linda immediately started stammering. Richard demanded answers. And that's when the biggest twist arrived. Apparently, the trust wasn't actually under Jason's control. Richard was one of the trustees. He had never approved excluding Emma. In fact, he had never even been told about Jason's plan. Jason had secretly submitted documents hoping nobody would notice. Richard was livid. You forged family intent. Jason looked like he might pass out. The wedding ended instantly. Guests began leaving. Some openly criticized Jason and Linda. Others apologized to me. Several relatives walked over to Emma and hugged her. But karma wasn't finished. Over the next few months, everything collapsed for Jason. The family launched an investigation into the trust. The documents he submitted were ruled invalid. His reputation within the family was destroyed. Several business relationships suffered after people learned how he had treated a little girl. Even Noah's mother filed for custody changes after seeing the screenshots. Linda became the subject of endless family gossip. For years she had carefully maintained an image of being the perfect grandmother. Now everyone knew the truth. As for me, I focused on Emma. For the first time in months, she seemed happy. Then one afternoon I received a call from Richard. He asked us to visit. When we arrived, he sat Emma down and handed her a small box. Inside was an antique silver bracelet that had belonged to his late wife. Family isn't blood, he told her. Family is who chooses to love you. Emma started crying. So did I. Then Richard revealed something else. He had officially updated his own estate plans. Part of his future inheritance would go to Emma. Not because she deserved pity. Because he considered her family. Years have passed since that disastrous wedding. Emma is older now. Confident. Happy. Strong. Sometimes she asks about Jason. Sometimes she asks about Linda. But not often. Because those people no longer matter. The woman who once told my daughter, "This dinner is for our kids," ended up losing the respect of her entire family. The man who stayed silent while a little girl cried lost the future he thought was guaranteed. And my daughter? The little girl they treated like an outsider? She gained something far more valuable than money. She learned that real family isn't determined by blood, inheritance, or a seat at a dinner table. It's determined by love. And in the end, the people who tried hardest to exclude her were the ones who ended up alone.